Welcome to the ThunderCast, your martial athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and Jed Horton. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here, because the ThunderCast is on the loose. Welcome to another episode of the ThunderCast. Russ Livingood here with Jed Horton.
Hey, happy to be here, Russ. It's a little bit later this week recording, but glad we could get together this week and talk a little bit about herd athletics.
Man, schedules kill us, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. We thought it was only KD, but we have scheduling issues too.
Right.
But no, welcome back to the ThunderCast. Glad to have you guys back here. We got a lot more to talk about in our usual 5 things, and we're going to take you around the herd. But before we do all that, I'd like to get a word from our sponsors at Leasure Oliver PLLC. If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Found them at 304carwreck.com. Jed, I'd be remiss if I didn't say head on over to ThunderCast.Online, bookmark that. Find us on social media. KD does a bang-up job over on Twitter. Like and follow him over there. He's also on Instagram. Very easy to find. ThunderCast over there. And I'm on Facebook. I do the Facebook stuff. A lot of that over there is just posting links to the show and links to the articles and all that. But please follow along. And for all of these things, please like and subscribe. Follow whatever the button is on your favorite audio streaming app for the podcast. And also for the viewers over on YouTube, make sure you do that. And hey, why not tell a friend, right?
Right, exactly. Well, it just helps grow the podcast, helps with the algorithms, all of those things. So if you see KD post on Twitter and those things, just do a reshare and a like, and especially on those episode drops, and that helps grow the podcast and gets us out to more and more listeners out there.
Absolutely. And let's jump right into it because we had a lot to go, and we're going to do our usual 5 things. And now here are at least 5 things every herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by ignite.link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Jed, we had 10 things last week, and you would think, it's not a lot going on right now. Surely these guys can't come up with 5 things. Well,
how could we?
How about 7 things every herd fan needs to know this week? Number 1, Emma Vanderhayden and Sophia Hurion named CSC Academic All-District for women's tennis. Jed, I'm going to let you play KD Hudnall, and you give me one word to describe what this is.
I was about to raise my hand and be like, I'll answer. Yeah, differentiator, man. Differentiator.
It is indeed a differentiator. And this is the College Sports Communicators Academic All-District team. And to be eligible, student athletes, get this, must have competed in 70% of the team's duels in the spring and have maintained at least a 3.5 GPA. So, number 1 being, that active, 70% of the meets. And once you narrow that down, you got to have a 3.5 GPA. Got to be pretty difficult to get into.
Yeah, I would say so. Not that I was a great student, but I can tell you that maintaining a 3.5, if I ever hit it, was pretty hard. Just stumbling into class on time, let alone being a student athlete. So
yeah,
it's man, those awards. I mean, that they set the bar high so that when those students achieve it, it's a big thing. So. Yeah, that's great. We see that all the time in our athletic program at Marshall, and I'm glad that we continue to see that rolling even now towards the end of the year.
Think of the early morning workouts, maybe the late evening workouts, the practices, all the different things that you have to do to juggle while you're here, much less travel. They've got It's predominantly or maybe exclusively weekends, but you'll see like a Friday or something here. So you have to travel up maybe on a Thursday, even if you travel early Friday morning, to hit the weekend deal. It's a lot for these student athletes, and maintaining 3.5 GPA is very impressive. But it's what they're here for, is school and education. And we joke about that term that KD uses all the time, a differentiator, but he's 100% right. It's a tongue in cheek that we kid each other about, but it really is a differentiator. When you're an athlete or a parent of an athlete, family member of an athlete, and you see all these accolades that we get in the classroom, makes you feel good and lets you know that you can come here and you can get a degree, you can get an education while you're performing at a high level.
Right. And most of these student athletes, and we've said this time and time again, but I think it's worth repeating, is most of these student athletes go on to have careers.
Yeah.
And the education is it's just as important, if not more important, than the athletic career that they have at Marshall. Now, if they get to go on to the next level and make money doing that way and have a career doing that, fantastic. That's awesome. We want to see that. But most of these college athletes, end up being, professionals, whether it's here or around the country. And that's having that great education is very important.
Absolutely. Number 2, volleyball coaching staff is now official. Macy Watros and Tim Ebeke named as assistant coaches. I have a little bit up here on Watros, and then I'm going to get a little bit on Ebeke. But Watros was at Ohio, the Bob Kitties, as we refer to them. Pretty strong performer up there. And then now here at the Herd as an assistant coach officially. And Tim Ebeke, let's see here, native of Camac, New York. Let's see, also going to be our recruiting coordinator. Prior to coming to Marshall, he spent the last 2 seasons as an assistant coach and recruiting coordinator at Jacksonville State. So not a lot more that we really have on that except for welcome to the Herd. But now the staff is official, even though this has kind of been, around for a little while. All right. Number 3. I think you're going to like this one. Football set a new program high for GPA with a 3.09 this spring.
Wow. Do I get to use differentiator in 2 different 5 things?
I'm going to allow it. I'm coming in with the decision that yes, you can.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll call that differentiator as well. That's fantastic. Do you have the previous record?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I might be able to find it before the end of the show, but I didn't look into that. I should have. I do seem to remember us getting a high 2.9s at least while we were doing this show in one of the semesters. We could have even cracked that 3.0 barrier, but historically, when you compare not just at Marshall University, but when you compare the different programs that are sponsored at a university, men's football is usually lower than other men's sports, women's sports. And there's usually, there's 85 to 105 players on there. So you've got a lot of, different things that can bring it down, 3.09, way higher than I got as a non-football player at Marshall. I joke about it on here all the time, but I'm also very, very truthful. We just talked about the volleyball squad. The tennis squad landing 2 on that academic all-district team. We've talked about swim and dive. We've talked about the golf programs here. We've talked about volleyball here. We just talked about the university athletic programs as a whole and where they came in. But a 3.09 for football is pretty daggone high. And I've seen some other schools when they post theirs and things, and it is not anywhere near that.
Right.
But how important does this look to you that we basically have a brand new team as far as going up and down the roster? I mean, the majority of the players came in this spring. You have some holdovers. It's not all of them. It's not 75%, but over 50% are new faces. And so is the coaching staff, with a couple of old familiar faces on there, but definitely a brand new head coach, a new support staff. Lots of assistants are different. And in their very first semester, they set a team record for a spring, well, not just spring, but a semester GPA. I think that's pretty daggone good.
I think so too. It's a very good positive thing. You know, when you got like you mentioned, 85 to 105 football players, you've got enough. You got people for you got enough players there for the curve and everything else. You're taking into account. So no, that's good to see. We definitely want results out on the football field, right? Come here on scholarship. We want to see wins, right? We want to see, electric Saturdays in the Joan. We want to see those things. But you're kind of back to the first five things with the tennis. It's, again, most of these guys are not going to go pro, right? Most of these guys are not going to play at a next level. Once their career is here, if they finish their career here. And so education is important. And being able to see these guys go after degree programs and things like that and maintain good grades, that's just going to help them as they exit university, college life, and into the next stage of life, into a career. And so I think that speaks well. I mean, we want good student athletes. We want student athletes that can perform well on the field, and we hope to see that in the fall. But we also want them to perform well in the classroom, and that speaks highly. That's great. I don't know if we've cracked 3 before. I mean, I'm sure maybe we've gotten close, but I don't recall ever hearing us cracking 3. So
if we did crack 3, it obviously couldn't be much higher than
right.
3, because 3.09 is the new team record. That's interesting. I'm going to try to see if I can't locate and see what the old record was. But no, 100% what you said, spot on. And first semester here. The only thing is, when you set a new high, you either break it or there's only one other way to go, and that's down.
Yep.
So I hope that that the fall we continue this momentum and go up. But talk about hectic is their schedule and their travel and that sort of thing in the fall.
Yeah, fall's hard. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. If it's 3.08, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I won't either. Yeah. Number 4, got some transfer news. This is for women's basketball guard, and I hope I'm saying these correctly because we have not heard them audibly. We've just seen them in print. Tamea Lewis Utzi, and she comes from VCU, and Emily Bratton from Miami, Ohio, both committed over this past week, and both are guards. I've got a little stuff here on them, but I'll leave it up to you on if you want to comment in general on bringing a couple in and then me hit you with stats, or if you want me to hit you with the stats.
I'll just say quickly, I think we definitely needed some guards, some guard play coming in. I'm not familiar with these two, so how about you hit me with some stats on how they performed in the past?
Let's go with Lewis Utzi first for the VCU Rams. She, over the past 3 seasons that she was there, her last season she only played in 8 games, but 22-23, then 23-24, and then 24-25. She had 20.7 minutes a game, 28.6 minutes a game, 28.6 minutes a game. So even being there as a freshman, she played half the games, or half of the games that she was in. Looking here at points, the last 2 seasons, 12.9 and 14.5 points a game. So she was a scorer in those times she was there. 1.7 and up to 3.1 assists per game, 1.5 and 1.4 steals a game, and rebounds 5.1 and 3.6 per game these last 2 seasons. So one of these guards that's not just a scorer, one of these guards that tries to spread the ball around, get some rebounds, does everything. She is 5'8" guard. Emily Bratton, 5'7" guard. She was a freshman, played in 18 games, averaged 2.8 points a game, 1 rebound, and 0.6 assists per game. One of the games against a lower level where she got to play in more minutes, scored 14 points, and had 3 assists. Looks like her best game scoring wise at the same level they're at in conference against Kent State. She scored 9 points. So she is from Carroll, Ohio, it looks like. So decently local, not an hour from here or anything, but, just the next state over the region. So the good thing that I think about this is people had been knocking the recruiting of, we're bringing in D2 players, we're bringing in, some lower level players. I want to see some D1 players and all that. And, here we go. We're bringing in a couple of guards, and we are nowhere near done. I know that.
Right.
But starting to fill out the roster a little bit versus what we had. And like you said, we definitely needed to bring some guards in.
Yeah, it's a good start. It'd be interesting to see who else Coach Folks can bring in, and yeah, I'd like to see. Not that I'm opposed. I'm with you. I'm not opposed to bringing in D2 and things like
I'm
that.
not either.
It makes sense. We can have some success bringing players up that perform well. But yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes.
We have long said on here, players play, shooters shoot, that sort of thing, and I think if we would have had a slightly better beginning to last season, those players that we brought in last season would have gotten a little more leeway or something. But coming off of a record-setting season, once in a lifetime type season, and then having to go to that, I think some people's expectations were just a little too tough to hit, So that's one of the things I've seen and heard and chatter is like, well, recruiting, I don't think it's up to snuff yet. You have to remember who Coach Kim brought in. She wasn't bringing in people from Tennessee or South Carolina or things like that. She was bringing in some local in-state talent. We also, had Abby Beeman here, who was from the previous coaching regime, was an in-state school transfer and was one of the best point guards in the country by the time she left here. So I don't think it's so much that lower level can't get it done. It's that last year it didn't maintain the same level or come close to the same level of success as we had the previous year. But it was apples and oranges,
Yeah, you had you just had a perfect storm of greatness. Yeah, usually it's a perfect storm of failure, but we had a perfect storm of success, and that's hard to compete with, especially when it's you're on the third coach in 3 years.
Yeah,
it's you got to build at some point, and that means a lot of times you're starting a little bit lower. You have to get your recruiting in, and start. You're developing a team from scratch, really, in a lot of ways. So, it takes some time.
Some of our players that were here last year were on their third coach in 3 years, third different defense in 3 years, third different offense in 3 years. It's got to be tough, the learning curve with that. But again, with the expectations, we are trying not to put on unfair expectations. I think this year you'll have an opportunity to see more of Coach Fulks's things that she wanted to implement. She came in and didn't have full year recruiting. that sort of thing. So now she does. Now she's getting up to speed, I guess you would say, on where she was wanting to be. We're going to keep it with basketball and recruiting. And number 5 is center Matthew Van Komen from Elon, 7'4" center, commits to men's basketball. There have been some rumblings that he was one of many people that we've had in here visiting, but everyone was kind of high on him for obvious reasons, his height and everything. We kind of said, KD and I, that we didn't want to mention names because, I mean, you could run down 30 different people that we had worked out or brought in or looked at, tested the waters. Hey, would you accept a scholarship? That sort of thing. So it's unfair to list all of these and they all can't come here. Right. So we didn't know who among those, and we do have at least one more spot on the roster, maybe 2. But Van Komen coming over from Elon, 7'4". Obviously, he's going to be a shot alter guy, shot block guy, rebound guy, and one of those guys. Even if he's playing, 10 to 15 minutes a game, he's going to be a distraction.
Yes.
On defense and at times a force on offense, because he shot, I think it was north of 70, like 73 from the field, 73%.
Okay.
And I'll get these stats up here in a minute, but comes from Lehigh, Utah. He's a grad transfer. He was with, let's see here, Utah. Daggone. Hit the wrong thing. Yeah, he was with Utah in 2019, 2020. Then he was at who is SMC? I don't know that. I don't know. I'll have to look and see who SMC is. And then he went to Elon, and he had about 4 years in between those two that he did not get to. St. Mary's is who that is. So he had several years off in between. Being from Utah, I'm going to guess he was on a mission trip. As several athletes from there have been in the past. But yeah, 72% from field goal range, 23 minutes a game, only scored 6 a game. So it wasn't like he was taking a lot of shots and everything. Wasn't the focus of the offense. But 7'4", certainly at 72%, and at Utah he was 70%. I think we can work the ball into him. You get 5 shots a game and you're hitting 70%. You're putting up 6 to 8 points a game, and I think that's pretty good for somebody coming off the bench or starting and getting a lot of rest, playing half a game. The big thing for me is going to be running the floor and that sort of thing. Usually at that height, that's one of the drawbacks, I guess you'd say. But for some people that were there and saw his workouts with us, he actually was shooting the ball from outside, so showed a little range and did not have much trouble getting up and down the court. So an athletic or even, not a non-athletic 7'4" is pretty exciting. Nobody's saying 20 points a game. Nobody's saying 10 points a game, but we are saying 7'4" should help a lot on rebounds, putbacks, when you need to score down low, kick it into him. You need a rebound on the defensive end, offensive end. It's got to help a whole lot.
Yeah, I agree. And that's, like you mentioned before, it's going to be, you're going to have to game plan around that.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to drive to the hoop with him standing there. and think you're going to have an easy time at it. So you're going to have to kind of game plan around that. And it'll be interesting to see how Coach Jackson fits him into the into the lineup and how that works with how we play ball. So yeah, I'm excited. That's I don't think we've had someone that tall. We've had some 7-footers in the past, but be the
Yeah,
tallest one, I'm pretty sure.
wasn't Imbow like Yaus or Use Imbow? He was like 7'1", 7'2". I know Whiteside was up there around the 7-foot
Mhm.
mark. He's got to be the tallest player we've had. I'm looking here at the stats, Jed, and on rebounds alone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games of double digit rebounds and quite a few of 8 and 9 rebounds a game. Double digit points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times he hit double figures. So he can score when he's in there. He can rebound when he's in there. Uh, most of his games were in that 20 to 30 minutes a game. He had a stretch here where he had a bunch of 30 some minute games in a row. But if he can give us 20, if he can give us 15 minutes a game and come in, get anywhere from 6 to 8 points and 5 to 10 rebounds, a couple of blocks, changing some shots, I think that's going to be a good contribution.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Number 6, women's track and field lands 3 on the Sunbelt Conference all conference teams. We got Destiny Berryman, a freshman, by the way, was named to the second team. Hannah Weiler and Taylor Spencer both make third. Now, I'll let you comment however you want, but I want to talk more about them and all that in around the herd because that was about the conference championships. But I do think it's pretty cool that we got a freshman making
Yeah.
second team. And I don't want to spoil something from around the herd, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll save it for that. But no, that's congratulations to those women. That's really awesome. You've got some good top performers there, so that's great. But yeah, we'll save the in-depth talk for around the herd.
And finally, number 7, softball has a slew of players enter the transfer portal. Know that we just graduated 4 seniors, and Brooke Ulrich was also someone that was presented on senior day, but she had a year of eligibility left. Well, she has entered the portal as a grad transfer, and also Maddie Veal, Emily Cole, Ava Hazard, Lainey Jennings, and Sydney Bright. That is 6 that entered the portal. So we're going to have 10 new spots open up with 4 seniors that left, exhausted eligibility, and these 6 that transferred. Knee-jerk reaction from you on that?
Knee jerk is that's a lot of people to replace, and it doesn't mean that just because they enter the portal doesn't mean they won't come back per se.
True.
But it's you kind of figure that if they're entering, they're at least looking at their options and possibly transferring out. So you're definitely down for um, you know up to 10, probably 10. It's it's not something to it's not something that we can't overcome, but it's definitely, yeah, you got your work cut out for you in the off season here to try to replace all these players.
Yeah, 3 of these were freshmen. So they were here, just came in this past year. Maddie Veal was a pitcher. Lainey Jennings was an utility player, and Ava Hazard an infielder. So 3 fresh faces into the program. And then Emily Cole was a sophomore pitcher, and Sydney Bright, a sophomore, listed as an infielder. Um, it's a lot. 10 is a lot off of a roster. 4 of those we knew were going. You just have to figure in every sport that you're going to have some transfer anymore. I mean, that's just the norm. You're going to see it in basketball. You're going to see it just about everywhere. The big loss here, obviously, Brooklyn Ulrich.
Yeah.
She was a stalwart the last few years there at the last 3 seasons at second base. And then second half of this past season, she moved over to shortstop. But what she did the previous season and to be, the preseason player of the year for the Sun Belt Conference, the favorite coming in, huge, massive, massive loss. We obviously wish her the best, but we hate to see her go because wonderful person, wonderful family. I actually got to know just as a little bit attending the games and getting to interact with her mom and dad out there on occasion, where I like to stand and sit out in the grass beyond the outfield. By the way, shout out to them that they made just about every series, and they are from Arizona, having
Oh
to
wow. Okay,
travel up here and everything. So dedicated parents, been here for years. Brooke put up a monster season in 2024 to get the accolades she did and everything, and a very good career when you look back at it. I saw one different ranking that at the time had her as the number 1 overall player available when she hit the transfer portal.
wow.
Obviously, that is going to be a fluid situation. 1
Right.
through whatever is going to fluctuate, as different people enter and different people commit. That list will constantly be in flux. But I really, really hate to see her go because I was expecting with her coming back potentially that you were going to have that centerpiece in the lineup, that continuity from the last couple of years, but also, somebody that can get a bunch of extra base hits, play a good field, be that team leader, as the senior stateswoman for the next season. But we also want to support her for where she's going, wherever she ends up. She's a grad transfer, so she got her degree here. She got to walk on senior day with her parents and her teammates, roommates, and just really, really hate to see her go.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, but wish her the best of luck moving forward for sure.
Yeah. Best of luck wherever she ends up. That team's going to get a good person,
Killer.
good player. Yeah. And I'm not trying to slight these other ones, but you're talking about someone that was a perennial starter, won several awards, and was going to be a senior. And then we've got the other ones did not contribute what Brooke did. So I'm not taking away from them. It's just they're transferring out early in their years. She's transferring out, as a grad transfer. It's just night and day difference. Wish all of them the best of luck. Hate to see them all go, but more than anything, hate to see Brooke go from what we were hoping she would do here next year.
Right.
Well, Jed, if you don't have anything else for that, that does it for another 5, this time 7 things every Herd fan needs to know this week. And as always, brought to you by ignite.link.
Well, you get towards the end of the seasons, and the sports are winding down, and you think there's, how can you come up with 5 things and still come up with 7? So, a lot still going on even as the season winds down. So. Well, Russ, why don't we take it around the herd?
Let's do it. And now, Layer 1 Solutions, your experts in business connectivity infrastructure, takes you around the herd.
Now we are winding down towards the end of the seasons. You know, you got your softball wrapped up. You know, golf, tennis, all those sports have wrapped up. But we still got a couple sports that we're still not wrapped up yet, but we're getting ready to wrap up. Or that just wrapped up. Let's put it that way. Let's talk about track and field first because that one did just wrap up.
Yeah.
Men and women finished 10th in the SBC championships. The men, they had a team that broke the 4x100 relay again. This is the 20th or 30th time.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Joey Blowbaum, Samari McCord, Jonathan Osu, and Chris Swint bested the school mark that has fallen obviously several times this year with a 40.57 seconds record there. So, you want to talk about that? Got any comments on that?
Yeah, so earlier this season, it seemed like they were trying to find their best four because I think it was broken on 3 separate occasions and maybe 3 weeks in a row. One of the weeks, the first place team and the second place team both broke the record, but only one got to, obviously, who came in first, beat it by, a tenth of a second or something like that, and they got to hold the new record. But it was like the first time it was broken was these four, and then these four over here broke those records. So it was like, what four is the best that we can come up with? I think what four run the best, who runs best as the anchor, who's the lead off, that sort of thing. And this was something that we thought would be one to watch, in the conference championships. And they ended up coming in 7th, I think, in the conference, but still broke the record that they had been breaking all year. So, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm not going through and looking at each one of these guys and comparing it to what it was. But if I'm not mistaken, this was the 4 that had broken it previously. Not 100% on that, but I do know several of these are freshmen as well. So you've got to think that these coming years are going to be pretty good in this event. We continue to best. I want to say this is the 4th time it's been broken this season.
Right. Well, and that's as we see this track and field program grow from just being reinstated just very recently.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see that trend continue, especially as we talk about some of our scorers. So I've got a stat here for you. So of our scorers, okay, the people who scored at a conference meet, we had 12 newcomers, 9 freshmen, 6 sophomores, 3 juniors, and 2 seniors.
Yeah. So the majority of your scorers are new, to the program the last couple of years. It seems to be that changing of the guard kind of deal. Coach Roberts inherited the incoming new men's track and field team after the reinstatement that you just mentioned, and some all timers on the women's side. And now you've got kind of the changing of the guard, and you're seeing new players scoring, new players setting records. And that's why I was talking about Destiny Berryman there getting second team all conference. She's a freshman, finished second in the 1500 meter finals. Hannah Weiler finished third in that. And both of those were new personal records, not a school record here, but personal for them. What a time to set a personal record is in the conference championships. Also, the women's 4x100 and the men's 4x400 had the second fastest times in school history. And we had other podium finishes. There's 3 different articles on herdzone.com. If you want to go over there, it'll tell you every single score that we had. On the women's side, we scored a total of 36 points. And for anyone that don't know, the way that the scoring works is, obviously first place gets more points than second and third and so on down through 8. We scored 36 points overall, and on the men's side, we scored 9. Men are still trying to catch up to the women over there. 10th place out of 13, 14, whatever teams that we have for each is nowhere near where we want to be
Yeah.
in either program. But I think that things are going in the right direction as far as um, what we've been talking about here. Coach Roberts is more of like the CEO of having,
Mhm.
the different uh, people that are doing sprints have this assistant coach over here. Caleb Bowen gets a lot of press for all the running that he does and the distance coaching and stuff. He's obviously handling the distance side. But we're still 3 years removed from reinstating the men's program,
Right.
and now we've got the majority of our scorers are in the freshman sophomore category. More to come. Obviously, roster top to bottom is going to change, get more newcomers in here. Seen a lot of all timers and some record holders leave over the past year and a half, and now the majority of our scorers are coming from freshmen and sophomore, these last two recruiting classes.
Yeah, which is good to see, and so it's giving it some time. We're trending in the right direction. Again, didn't finish where we wanted, like you said, but there's some good trends when you're seeing records being broken and things like that. You want to keep seeing that, and over time, we work our way up and hopefully get a work our way to a top finish.
Yeah. Now, a little bit of news with this is usually when the Sun Belt Conference championships are over, so is the season, unless you go into the NCAA regionals and qualify for that. So, just announced today, I believe, with the goal of adding more qualifiers for the first round of the NCAA championships, Marshall Track and Field will travel to App State's last chance Sunday night qualifier meet. To qualify for the NCAA first rounds, athletes need to be in the top 48 of their respective event. You can find this over on Herd Zone, but it lists those Marshall athletes that will be competing and trying to get their times up to where they're qualifiers for the NCAA. So that will be this Saturday. Pretty cool, I think, to add this event. Give everybody one last chance to get up there. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Marshall athletes. So we're cheering them on. Hopefully, we get to see some qualifiers from that list.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. We'll keep an eye on that, and we'll update you if we're able to get anybody in there. Let's take it to the one sport that's still being played. It has a little bit left in the tank here is baseball. They swept the series at Georgia State with wins of 15-14, then 13-3, and then 11-10.
Mm-hmm. And some wild games in there. That first game, we were ahead big, then let them come back, and then we had to scratch and claw to tie it up late and then win late. 13-3 was a different animal. We put it on them for a while, and then that final game, man, it was crazy as well. If I'm not mistaken, that one was the one that we went to extras there. Let's see. Yeah, 10th inning, we won that one. So we scored 4 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th. That put us in the lead. Then we gave up 1 in the 9th and then 1 in the 10th. I want to talk about that game just a second before we move on. I could talk about all three, but something really, really cool in that game at the very end. So hope I'm getting this right going off of memory. We lead off with a single in the 10th inning. We bunt the guy over. Good bunt, gets us on second. Then there's a wild pitch, pass ball, gets us on third with 1 out. We go up and we do more of a safety squeeze than a suicide squeeze, but we squeeze the runner in, and that puts us up in the 10th. Georgia State gets a leadoff single in the bottom of the 10th. They bunt the guy over to second. So 1 out, runner on second. Wild pitch, pass ball, same thing. Puts him on third with 1 out. We induce them into an infield fly to third and an infield fly to first to win the game. Bunting, even though both teams executed well to get their guy in scoring position, we bunt, perfect bunt, get the guy in from third. They pop up and they pop up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you got a guy on third with 1 out. There's so many different ways that guy can score. We get 2 outs. They get a pop up to the outfield. There's a good chance that guy scores. But we took care of business by bunting. I think that's great from the coaches. That's great from top to bottom. Our roster, we had 2 different key bunts in there. You need to have those fundamentals down, and we did. And that's part of the growth that I see here at Marshall Baseball is we don't have one bunter that you hope that it's his spot in the lineup when you need it. They called on 2 different guys to bunt. One gets them over. If you don't get that runner to second, we might lose that game. If you don't get that bunt down and then you strike out or you hit into a double play or whatever. Then to call for the squeeze, that's great call. Confidence in that guy to get that bunt down, and he did. Not even close. They didn't try to get the runner at home. Their only play was at first. Great bunt, execution, play call, everything. That shows what Marshall Baseball has been doing this year is getting better and ready to turn up to that next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when, you've seen these games where we've been able to win against ranked teams.
Yeah.
We're missing out on winning series by, a run or 2.
Yeah.
And things like that. Like this is a good, up and coming team that if we can maintain that trajectory and get better, get better at the sport and recruit, keep recruiting good players in, you've got a team that could potentially become very competitive in a very competitive conference. So
yes,
so that's sweeping Georgia State was great. The guys were supposed to play Virginia Tech, but they heard there was some thunder coming to town, so they got a little scared and called the game off due to weather.
That's right. Weather.
Yeah, they were just scared of some thunder is what it was.
100%.
So we didn't get to play that game. That would have been a great game to see. So they didn't get to play that one, but they are finishing up the regular season this weekend, and they did win last night's game 10-8.
Yep, and with that victory, that clinched us being in the top 10, which allows us to play in the tournament, and we are currently ranked 6th, but the 2 teams directly above us that we can catch, we could finish as high as 4th, are both only 1 game ahead of us. So if we win our next 2 and they lose the next 2, we will pass them. If it ends up tie, I don't know with Louisiana and Old Dominion on the tiebreakers. I do know that I'm fairly certain Louisiana and Old Dominion both beat us heads up in the series. So I think that we're going to need to win and both of them lose, or we're going to need a lot of help to finish higher than 5th or 6th. But 5th or 6th definitely in play. If you finish in the top 6, you immediately get into that double elimination round in the tournament. So it's huge to stay in the 6th spot or above where we're at.
Well, and this being the first time that we've made the tournament, is a big deal. So that's again, program on the rise. You get yourself a stadium, get your pour some resources into the program, and you can get some results. So no, it's
Now,
great to see.
now listen, there's going to be some Sunbelt people from way back, or Southern Miss, who was a juggernaut in Conference USA and wherever they were at for years and decades. Marshall has not been that. So there's going to be a lot of people saying Marshall, 29-24 overall, 14-14 in conference. That's nothing. Why are you guys beating your chests? Because we see what we've done. I highlighted it on a tweet. I know you saw that. We talked about it in person before. We hand Southern Miss their only series loss on the year. Troy, we had 2 different 4-3 losses to them. That one of those games comes out differently. That would be the only time. They haven't lost a series all year. Those 2 teams are playing each other right now, and they are great. Coastal Carolina is seemingly better than both of them, but the top 3 in our conference this year have just been putting it on a little bit of everybody. All 3 ranked in the top 25, not mid-major, not G5, not whatever they want to call it, the actual top 25. And we beat one of those teams in the series, and we nearly beat another one of those teams in the series. 4 different times that we beat ranked opponents this year. And I mean,
you're talking about we've had now one full cycle of practices and games in a in the Jack, having actual facilities and things, you can use for recruiting, but not just recruiting, but also practices and things like that. We beat our chest because we're doing well in such a short amount of time, and we're we may not be taking the series, but we're giving some black eyes along the way. And that's we're proud of that. We're proud of that. We want to see that continue to grow and us get competitive in the sport.
We're definitely proud. And I tell you that even though I don't have like the particular games listed here, but in my head, I remember that we easily could have taken 2 of the games in Hawaii. We easily could have won at least one of those Troy games. There's another couple of games here that we lost by a run, or that maybe 2 runs, or 1 bad inning just really sunk the squad.
Could have taken that series with WVU.
Very well could have.
They're here in neutral, and you lose by that 1 run.
Run.
That seems to be the theme this year.
So let's say that there's 5 games, and they wouldn't be conference games, not all of them. But let's say instead of 29-24 with 2 games left, one just started now. It's 6 p.m. But that would put you at 34-19 instead of 29-24. Conference, let's say you win 2 different games, and not just at Troy, but out of the 28 games we played so far, 2 of those that were close losses you win. We're 16-14. We would be 4th right now with 2 games to go. And you can't catch Troy, you can't catch Southern Miss, you can't catch Coastal. 4 is absolute best we could do, but we would be in the driver's seat with 2 games to go to be in 4th, and we would be guaranteed to be in the double elimination top 6. So, we've got every reason to be proud, and we know that we are better than what we've done so far. Even though I'm proud as hell of what we have done, we are better and could have a better record because I've seen it. I've watched a lot of their games. Unfortunately, most of them have been on TV for me. I haven't been able to make it to the Jack because having 3 kids, as you know, is murder on your schedule when you're having to run here, run there, do this, do that. But I've watched a lot of their games, and I know how close we are to breaking out. And I know that we have really built something here with Coach Bills. And again, I just want to point back to it. Georgia State had the exact same thing happen, and they didn't get their run in, and we did. And we did it with a suicide squeeze, safety squeeze, whatever you want to call it. We executed well to win a game. 11 of our last 13, I think, is what we've won. Just think about that.
Yeah, and again, and some of that was, especially earlier on in the season, was kind of that rough around the edges, not being able to execute when you had to execute to win the close games. And
Yeah,
you see that as the year progressed, that they got better at being able to execute when those situations were a little dire. And someone's got to win that game, and it's whoever executes at the end. And so yeah, no, I'm happy as all get out, man. It's something to keep building. As long as we keep building and keep getting better, we can be very competitive in a very competitive conference.
very
So,
competitive. We've
and
got some young guys coming in that when they get up to their starting roles and stuff like that, they were highly touted. We have a young core pitching staff that seems like walks, hit batsmen. That has been kind of their downfall. It's not their stuff. Their stuff is top notch, but you get a couple of people on base, an error here and there, just a hit or a walk allows them to come in. We've been losing some games when our pitching is better than what it's been doing, and our pitching has been really good. We've got not just one guy that you say, well, we really hope that we win those next two games. I mean, you can trot 3 starters out there and know that you've got a good chance every single game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I will say, you start looking. Sorry, Jed, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. You're good.
You start looking at the scores here of late, and we've been putting up double digits all around. The pitching has not caught up to where that batting is. We're hitting it, and it's not just hitting home runs. We're manufacturing runs. We're putting up a lot of runs. We're putting up big innings. And if the pitching can catch fire in a double elimination tournament, I could see us. I'm not saying we're going to beat Coastal. I'm not saying we're going to win the conference championship. I could just see us making some noise and earning some more respect in this conference championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Russ, that wraps up the Around the Herd segment here, sponsored by Layer 1 Solutions.
Yep. Thanks to Layer 1 Solutions, as always. Thanks to ignite.link. And Jed, I know you know those guys very well, ignite.link and Layer 1.
They're pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Thanks to Jed and his businesses. And then as always, I say since day 0, 304carwreck.com, the guys over at Leasure Oliver PLLC have with you and with them have allowed us to do some crazy good stuff. And it's just getting better. We have sponsors for tailgates. Landscaping by Hillcrest has stepped up and taken all of our tailgating stuff to new heights. We've had a bunch of different people over on the ThunderCast.Online website. Matt McCormick with McCormick Insurance Group has been over there sponsoring for a long time. And I just wanted to use my final words here to kind of talk about sponsorship and sponsorship opportunities. And, KD and I do that position group breakdown every year. And we are looking for someone that would like to have a unique sponsorship for that. There will be 9, I think 10, 10 counting the season preview of our highest ranked, definitely over the summer, but our highest viewed, highest listened episodes, because everyone wants to know about the, kind of how the roster is shaking out in football. Football's the biggest draw here at Marshall, and that is coming up very soon. So anyone that is watching or listening and would like to see about doing a sponsorship to where you are the presenting sponsor for those individual episodes. Reach out to me, reach out to KD. You can hit us, me on my personal, or KD on the ThunderCast handle itself where he runs it, or you can send us an email, ThunderCast.pod@gmail, and just say, I'm interested in sponsoring. We'll hook you up. Now, we also did that last year for the first time. Com Assist did the sponsorship of our preview episodes for the football games, and we are going to do that again this year. So maybe someone that is watching and listening wants to do both of those. Maybe they only want to do one of those, but we do have some exciting opportunities coming up for football. Jed, that's it. That's it for me.
Yep. I just real quick, just to tag on a little bit of what you said. As a sponsor myself of the ThunderCast, it's twofold. Obviously, you get your name recognized. That gets plastered on Twitter, Facebook, the website, or not the website, but with YouTube rather, on those position group breakdowns. So, you're getting exposure for your business, which is great. But you're also allowing us to expand on what Russ and Katie are doing with the ThunderCast. There's a lot of things that Russ, Katie, and I have talked about behind the scenes, new potential things that want to be brought to the listeners, and sponsorships allow you to allow these guys to do that. These guys, and I've said this before, Russ, Katie, they do not take a penny from those sponsorships for themselves. Everything gets put back either into the podcast or as whether it's with the Big Green, the Thunder Trust, buying season tickets for listeners and doing giveaways and things like that. All that stuff goes back, either back towards the university, the athletics, or into helping build the podcast. So definitely want to encourage you as a sponsor myself. It's a good opportunity to showcase your business while allowing listeners to have, whether it's better tailgate food, and having a full spread at a tailgate, or allow listeners to bring new episodes, new content, those kind of things. So just want to encourage you guys to do that. And as a sponsor, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned before, you may have mentioned it there just now, and I missed it, but it's not just on the episodes, but our social media when we are listing those episodes and everything. Katie has built quite a following over on Twitter. We have pretty good following over on Facebook too. So your name gets out there, your logo gets out there, your phone number gets out there, it all gets out there. So anyone watching or listening and you want to help us grow and help yourself grow, hit us up. But with that, I'm going to take us out of here, and I'm going to say, whether you see us at the Jack, whether you see us at the Joan, or whether you see us hopefully getting some qualifiers for the NCAA first round, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd. It's the ThunderCast.
Go Herd.